Welcome to Fantasy Inception. I'm your host, Josh Grossman. With me, as always, Jeff, Landon. Boys, how are you?
Falling apart, Josh. Falling apart.
Nailed it.
And our guest, we haven't had a guest in a while, Adam Moreau, Big Tasty, not so Big Tasty, I think your new name is. Thank you for
I'm going to change it back. Good to see you, boys.
Let's have the guy that had the longest losing streak of the season on the show.
Which league? Haven't you taken over that record in Dynasty?
Oh, yeah, I have. Good point. Touche.
Thank you.
Right,
what's Dynasty? Are we in a Dynasty league?
Falling apart.
I didn't know when I signed up.
You were the one who wanted to do it. We have a bunch of segments to do. We're going to go over last week's rank 'em results. We're also going to play a new game with our guest. We'll do strategy session, and we'll focus on Dynasty, and then we will look at the playoffs for Dynasty and conclude with the Clown Town exam and Hondo's huddle. So last week for rank 'em, Jeff was our loser with 11 points. Landon and Matt won with 18 points. In the individual categories, Jeff was the number one expert in receiver. I was the number one expert in running back, and Finder was our QB expert. I will send the week 14 rank them later, and we'll figure out penalty stuff after that. All right, to the game. So Adam, for those who don't know, Adam is a casual fantasy player. Is
a very good way to put it. Yeah.
Sneaky good.
He has requested / demanded that we not talk about any individual players because he's not really sure who plays football. So
That's true. That's true.
American football player or World Cup player, which I'm going to give Adam a name, and he's going to tell me whether or not it's a football player in the NFL or a World Cup soccer player. Adam, you ready?
Yeah, I'm just going to say NFL for everybody, just to make sure I don't embarrass myself.
Okay, we'll start with all right, Kenneth Taylor.
NFL.
No. World Cup, Netherlands team. Are you really going to do...
I actually watched that entire game, too. Okay, I guess I wasn't listening to the names.
Ashton Dula.
NFL.
Yeah, Colts receiver. All right.
Who's receiver?
Colts.
Colts, got it. Not watching all of Matt Ryan football. See that?
I don't blame you.
Really, he knew the quarterback. That was good.
Yeah, there you go.
Tegan Quintariano.
World Cup.
No, Texans tight
Come
end.
on. All right.
Wait, did you get that right? Did you even pronounce that right?
I looked for names that might be World Cup international players. Borna Sosa.
World Cup.
Nice, Croatia.
Yes.
Xander Horvath.
World Cup.
No, Chargers running back.
Damn it. Starting running back?
No.
Not Ruben Diaz. I think that's the last.
NFL.
No, Portugal. You did well. I think you got a couple.
Nice work. All right. Yeah. Good. Nice.
You get the bonus for Matt Ryan as a quarterback, so that's a bonus.
Yeah, right. Yeah. I got 5 points for that.
We're going to do a strategy session. We'll focus on Dynasty mainly because Big Tasty, Mr. Moreau, is in the playoffs. Congratulations there.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
So first, this is our first year of Dynasty, so I want each of you to give me one tip that you wish you had known prior to joining Dynasty. For Jeff, I know you've been in previous Dynasty leagues, so one tip that you wish you had known prior to joining your first Dynasty league. Adam, you want to start us off?
Sure. Yeah, so this is my first time in Dynasty and in a super flex league, and I feel like I didn't fully appreciate how impactful like two huge quarterbacks could be, right? So I think what's that?
Who are your QBs?
Russell Wilson. Yeah, so I thought that'd be my veteran who could kind of take me through this year and next year, not not happening. But I probably limped in with the QBs, and I probably should have really focused on that more early on.
Okay. Landon, what's one tip you wish you had known?
How bleak the waiver wire is, and
Yeah.
how incredibly boring the season is, and
From the bottom, yeah.
Maybe close too soon, buddy.
It's possible. Yeah, I don't. Dynasty is just a different animal than redraft. It's the long run, as they say. You gotta, you make a trade and it's oh sweet, I got a first rounder, but I have to wait till next year to use that pick. So it's you got to be patient, and so far I'm not impressed with it. But yeah, there you go.
You want to know why? Because you're not a good drafter. That's why.
That's probably why. You're absolutely correct.
You get so nervous. You can't make the right call.
Yeah, all joking aside, that probably is it. That's a very good call. Because
you're not a
Dynasty,
patient guy. Like
I'm not. No, it's that's a great call, Moreau. That's
you're
great.
a good player. You're just that's why I'm doing well in Dynasty, because I'm decent at drafting. I can't carry a season. I think we all know that.
And with
anything
Dynasty,
that requires
you're stuck
moves
with this
and
team,
attention.
and I made some big mistakes, I think. So the draft killed me, and that's not good for Dynasty.
Luckily, you have Garrett Wilson, so that's a plus.
Yeah,
I think Bino's going to be regretting that trade for a while.
Yep.
Moreau, Geoff, what is one tip you wish you had known prior to your first league?
I mean, I knew it, but I just wish I would have done a better job drafting depth. Like, honestly, whether it be running backs, wide receivers, in the middle rounds, I think I did a really poor job of doing that. I picked up players, DeAndre Hopkins, okay, but Michael Thomas, I should have just avoided that at all costs and continue to let him fall. But I know, I mean, there's players out there that, as I look back on the draft, I think, man, you knew this name like going into the draft. Like, why did you pick him up? I just could have done such a better job there, and I got bit by the injury bug pretty hard, and my team suffered as a result of not having good guys I could plug in and play. So that's really my takeaway this year.
Next question on strategy. So with Dynasty, trades are a little bit more, I think, complicated and harder to evaluate. And Jeff, I don't know if it was on the podcast or we were talking about it after we had finished recording, but you had mentioned that.
No, it was last week. It was at the end of the podcast.
Okay, I just meant if we were recording. You mentioned you were getting pretty upset at least one or two managers who were offering trades to you, and then as rationale for those trades, trying to show you keep trade cut or different trade calculator websites. So it sounds like you don't use those to evaluate, trades or figure out the value for different players. So if you don't use those websites, how do you value players or determine what?
No, that's not true at all. I mean, so I certainly recognize and utilize, whatever tools are out there to evaluate trade proposals. But what I was saying is, like, a good way to get under my skin or to basically not do a deal is send me, hey, this is a good deal for you. Like, you should be taking this. Like, don't tell me what I think I should know. Like, that just, I don't like that, right? So right there, I'm gonna put the kibosh on the whole deal, whether it is a good deal or not. So that's really all it is. It's nothing against like those tools that are out there. It's more of, look, don't tell me what you think I should know, or like try to pull the wool over the sheep's eyes, sort of thing, right? So,
we talking about Dave or anybody else too?
It was not Dave. So,
Hey, Dave.
No. It was somebody else. But I'm just saying,
come on, call him out.
Before you submit like a bid on Yahoo, like you can see obviously, there's an evaluation, how many points, how many projected points throughout the rest of the season. Like if someone were to send me a screenshot and be like, hey, you should make this deal because look at how many projected points you're going to get through the rest of the year. You know what? I don't need two QBs on my team, right? That's something like that. Like maybe you're trading me a QB and I already have one. Like That doesn't do me any good. So no, I'm just saying, like,
Okay.
it's stuff like that the numbers can get a little convoluted, in my opinion, and so yeah, I just don't think that's a fair way to assess trade evaluations at times.
Moreau, we were texting, and I was when Jamar Chase was injured, I was trying to, kind of foolishly trying to get him from you on your dynasty team, and you made the valid point that basically you were too uneducated to make such a big deal, which I think is the right thing to do. If you can't, like, especially in your first year of dynasty, you're not going to make big trades if you can't figure out what that value is. Do you think there's any sort of guidance or materials that we could do on the podcast to sort of, for the casual players in our dynasty league, give them some resources, or is it just, it's not,
I don't know. For the casual players, I mean, for me, like I made a couple trades in Dynasty, but it was players for players. Like for me, I have no idea. I have a total lack of understanding what the value of a draft pick is. I have no idea. So like if someone's trying to take a above average player from me and like try to convince me that a couple second rounders in 2 years mean anything to me, like that, I have no idea how to quantify that. No idea. It seems like it's none, right? A third rounder. What the hell is a third rounder worth? Like
Nothing. They're trash.
Like maybe I'll learn more about the value of that after I actually go through a second year or third year draft. But I don't know. I just feel like there's more players I can just pick up off of waivers, and that's even slim pickings. But like that's got to be better than a third round rookie, right? So like. That for me, that's why I'm like I can't even entertain a trade with draft picks. I can't do it.
Got it. Jeff,
Don't you dare trade Jamar Chase to Grossman ever.
I wouldn't.
Or anybody, like, for that matter. Like, not until he's at least 28. Like, don't trade him until he's at least 28.
I'll trade you
Put
Josh
that in the
Allen
memory
for
bank.
him.
Okay, that's not bad, but
you should do that trade immediately.
too bad trade.
Jeff, do you think
And I want
after a
Russell
year?
Wilson.
Do you think after a year of rookie drafts, since you're the only one who's done a dynasty for more than a year, do people get the value of picks?
It took me my first year because I remember my first dynasty draft. I ended up taking I was like Jameis Winston and Marcus Mariota as my first 2 picks off the board, and like everybody else is going heavy running back, wide receiver. And I'm like, man, these guys these guys went in the top of like the regular NFL draft. This is good value right here that I'm getting. And then I realized like what a waste of 2 picks that was for a season. So I mean, I think you do kind of get it immediately after probably doing it the one time.
Okay. Landon, how did you made some big trades? A lot of it was selling. How did you determine the value or determine if Bino was making a good offer to you?
I just went kind of off of gut feeling for the most part, which probably is not the best thing, but I did use the trade analyzer for that Garrett Wilson deal that helped me actually get Garrett Wilson. So that worked in my favor, I think. What's that? I'm sorry.
What trade analyzer is this?
Oh, the keep draft or what? I don't know. The one.
Keep cut.
Whatever you had mentioned. Yeah, it said that
draft.
it was like a better deal for Bino to make that deal. So that's, I think, what pushed him over the edge to make it. But yeah, I mean, it was when I was in contention, getting Derrick Henry felt like a good move for my team from Geoff. And then when I kind of, some people will say I sold too early, but I kind of felt like my team was not going to be competing to get a first rounder for an aging Derrick Henry. I think I had to hop on that little trade. So I don't know. It's going off a gut, and hopefully it works out in the end. Probably won't.
Last question on strategy, I guess. We're going into the off season, which I think is the regular season for Dynasty, and hopefully.
I hope so.
I hope your opinion changes about Dynasty once we get into the off season. Do you think? And mainly, I'm asking this because I'm the commissioner. Do you think there are tools or guidance or resources that we could either do on the podcast during the off season, or I could provide as the commissioner that might help because we have a lot of people who have not done Dynasty before. Is there anything that you guys could think of that we should be maybe looking into?
Yeah, Moreau, what do you use for your research?
I'll find something the day before. But, I did think about this.
I get a magazine to my house once a year.
Yeah. Find a toilet reading. Yeah. No, I got to do some research on like how quickly certain positions pop, in year 1 or 2 or 3. I don't really follow the drafts all that much, and I don't, rookies and second years are not really where I'm spending my time. So I got to figure out, like, does it take 2 or 3 years for a running back to kind of hit their stride? Does it take how many years for a wide receiver? I don't know the answers to those questions. I don't know where to go to find those, but I'll figure that out.
Okay, so that's something maybe we can give.
It's a great show on YouTube, or if you want, now we're on Hulu called Fantasy Inception that will give you all the answers to those questions.
We're on Hulu now?
Can you answer that question? Please answer that question.
Excuse me. What's the other one?
Spotify.
What's the other one we're on? Oh, thank you. Yeah.
It's not Spotify.
We're on HBO Max.
All right, we're gonna finish up on Dynasty.
Oh, what about my tools? I would say you got to pay attention to Spark scores. You gotta pay attention to Wonderlic scores for these guys. I mean, that's the most important.
We should have a combine show.
Combines. You got to pay attention to the combine. Do some research.
Can you find that show for us?
All right.
Absolutely.
Where can we find their SATs too?
Yeah. All right. Well, with Dynasty, we'll close up. We have 1 week left. We know 5 of the 6 playoff teams. Again, Moreau, congratulations. The only question left is whether or not Jeff or Landon will take that last spot. If Jeff wins this week, he is in. If he loses, Landon is in because of most points. Moreau, I don't know if you had an opportunity, but if looking at Jeff's team and Landon's team, which one do you think is stronger?
I mean, you kind of have to go with Landon's team, right? I mean, he's got more points. He's got Josh Allen. I don't know who's the other quarterback. Trevor Lawrence. He might make it. If this is a dynasty league and you're actually taking a shot on some guy who might be good in 2 or 3 years. I don't know. Geoff's team looks pretty solid in terms of age, as you mentioned, Geoff. Right? You probably went for, I don't know, some hopefuls and not some immediate depth. So maybe you got a better chance in 2 or 3 years. But right now, Landon's got you on points, so you got to go with that.
All right. One other question. So Cheelan and Bino are both 1-2 spots, and they're looking at the playoffs and their predictions. And they both were texting me earlier, thinking about losing this week because they see that if they win and they take first, that the Jewish Ditka, who's currently in 6th, they would face in the second round. Would you guys, I guess, in this position, think about throwing a game in order to get a better matchup either in the first or second round, or do you think that fantasy karma would bite you in the ass?
I think it's Bush League. I don't like it.
Even in Dynasty?
Even in Dynasty, I don't care. I mean, I think the commissioner should put something in place to prevent that, honestly. But
what am I going to put in place?
I don't know. I'm just saying, you got to set.
How do you prevent that, though? You got
to set you can't be starting guys on buys when they have players that are eligible.
That's different.
To play.
That's different. Yeah, you don't make it that obvious.
You have to field a legitimate roster. You can't be throwing. I mean, you can't be throwing guys that are on IR into your starting lineup.
I should be deciding between one active player and another, though.
That is Bush League. I would agree. You just put in starters, even if someone's projected at 3 points versus a 10-pointer you can put in there. Put in starters.
Absolutely.
Landon?
I think, I think it is. You can. Yeah, I think it's fine if you don't want to face a certain team. Yeah. I think that's, what's wrong.
Have you done that before?
I don't think so.
Or are you not usually playoffs, so it doesn't matter?
Yeah, exactly. That's correct. So if I was in that position, I would rather not play a better team if I could avoid it somehow.
Sure.
I mean, what's the difference between that and a pro team resting a starter.
Yeah,
You know,
look, I'm okay with that. But I'm just saying you can't start like injured players or players on bye who are just guaranteed 0 points.
No,
Like, you
that's
have to field a
ridiculous.
legitimate roster unless you absolutely like. For whatever reason, if you absolutely can't, but our rosters are pretty deep that I'm pretty sure anybody could.
Yeah.
All right, let's switch to redraft. Jeff, do you want to do Hondo's huddle now or
You tell me when.
you go?
I'll tell you what. I'm gonna go. Okay.
Okay, I promise I won't say anything this time. I'm gonna mute myself.
No, I love it. Please
Starting
jump
now.
on in. Okay, boys. All right, here we go. So players that I like, a little upgrade this week. I love Tyreek Hill and going against the Chargers. If he goes in the slot, he's going to be against Bryce Callahan, who's giving up a 76% catch rate. And Asante Samuel on the outside is giving up 6 TDs, which ties for third most in the league. So give me a lot of Tyreek Hill. Love that matchup. I love Amon-Ra St. Brown. Again, I feel like he's on this every single week, but he's going against Chandon Sullivan out of Minnesota. And out of the slot, he's given up a 78% catch rate, so I expect him to feast again. And, hey, that Detroit offense looks pretty good. I mean, at this point, they seem to be clicking a little bit, putting up 40 points and whatnot a game. So I love Higgins and Chase. Again, I feel like these guys are on this list every single week, but good matchups going against Denzel Ward, allowing 15.4 yards per catch, and Martin Emerson, who's given up 3 TDs, who leads his team in the most TDs given up. I think A.J. Brown will have another big week again. He will be going most likely shadowed by Fabian Moreau. He likes the Moreau. Moreau.
Shout
Moreau
out.
giving up 14.5 air yards per target. And I also like Devonta Smith in this matchup a little bit as well, going against Nick McLeod. He's led up 8 catches on 12 targets over the last 2 games alone. So I think both those guys will have a big week. And finally, I like Terrence Marshall over DJ Moore. I think if Terrence Marshall plays out of the slot, I think if Terrence Marshall plays out of the slot, he's going to face Kobe Bryant, who's allowed 20 catches on 23 targets in the last 4 games. So it's possible that they could slide LaVisca Chenault in that position, but I'm thinking
Does
it's going to
DJ Moore not ever go in the slot?
No, he's an outside. He doesn't like the slot.
Jeff, I'm definitely going to put Terrace Marshall in our rank him challenge just to see you rank him 1.
I'm not going to rank him 1. I'm not going to rank him 1. Hey, hold on. We got some downgrades. That was just the upgrade. Those are guys I like.
Good.
All right, let's have a beverage break. Downgrades this week. I don't like Darius Slayton going against Darius Slay, and if he does go out of the slot, which he has a tendency to do as well, he's going to be facing Bradbury. Both those guys. I mean, it's Philadelphia defense. We talk about them every week as well. I don't like Gabe Davis this week. I think he's going to be matched up against Sauce Gardner, who has only allowed a 44% catch rate and leads the league with the most amount of pass breakups. So I don't like Gabe Davis this week. I don't like Deontay Johnson or Pickens. They're both are going to be facing Humphrey and Marcus Peters. Humphrey has only allowed 9.8 yards per catch. Marcus Peters, 8.6 per reception. So those guys have been shutting it down. Love having that defense on my fantasy teams, the Baltimore defense. Corey Davis, I think he's going to be facing off against Tre'Davious White for Buffalo. I don't really love that matchup. I think that the Jets team might struggle a little bit here on the road this week. Or are they at home? I think they're on the road. But finally, I don't like Nico Collins. I know he's kind of the only game in town at this point, given I think Cook has been ruled out, right? Brandon Cooks?
I don't know.
I don't think he's out.
I think so, but maybe not. It doesn't sound like he's going to play. Anyways, I don't really love that matchup against Trayvon Diggs. We saw what he did last week. I mean, Indy's a train wreck anyways, but he shut down Michael Pittman. So I think that's one to avoid. And then finally, MVS. I don't really love MVS going against Patrick Surtain this week in Denver. So that's all I got.
I love it.
Nice.
Agree, disagree?
Impressive. Agree.
Yeah, I think Deontay Johnson.
Agree all around. All right.
150 and 4 touchdowns this week for Deontay.
Wow. I mean, the guy hasn't had over 10 points.
He hasn't had any touchdowns this year.
It's like forever, yeah. All right, let's look at Clown Town. So no one was really able to separate themselves last week. We have 2 weeks left before the playoffs. The only team that has locked it in is Chris's team. Every single team technically is able to make the playoffs. We will.
That's wild. I mean, that's just crazy.
Yeah.
Like, can't believe it. Still got a chance.
Yep. Yeah. Good. It shows parity.
Not a big
First
chance.
Not,
One
not a good one.
versus two. There's a lot of buys this week, so there's not really any roster decisions to ask you guys about. So I want you guys to take a look at the teams and tell me who's going to win, and give me one guy from either of the teams that either is going to massively disappoint or just blow up. Moreau.
I can't really read this that well.
Oh, these are soccer players.
That's
Yeah,
right.
Let's get on the football.
Oh yeah, that's much better.
Can you repeat the question?
One player. Who's going to be good? One player might be bad.
Crispy Taco wins this.
Oh,
There.
Right. And who is going to have an exceptional game?
I will say AJ Brown.
Okay.
Oh, it's like, I heard me talk about him. You were listening.
I did. I was listening. There you go.
I'm going to also go with Crispy Taco, and I believe Christian Kirk is going to have a very good game against the Tennessee secondary.
All right.
Mm-hmm.
Y'all.
Surprised he wasn't in your
this
Hondo's huddle.
matchup is crazy. This matchup is crazy in my opinion because, like, as I was going back and forth between this, like, I think this is going to be a really tight week. I think it's going to come down to Monday night. I really do with Hopkins and Stevenson for both these teams. I think it's going to be tight all the way around. And so, I mean, I think Hawkinson is the one guy in this that I think is just going to have a blow-up week. Revenge game, right? Going back to Detroit. They are terrible out of the slot, so I think he could really blow up in this matchup. But I do love some of these other matchups. I mean, I love A.J. Brown for Chris. I also like Jerry Jeudy kind of being the only guy with Sutton being ruled out. He's going to be force-fed the ball against the bad KC defense. Deebo Samuel should be a downgrade given the QB situation, in my opinion. Christian Kirk versus Zay Jones. I mean, they both have one of these guys. Tennessee's cornerbacks are bad, so I don't specifically know which guy's going to be. I lean Christian Kirk, but I think both are in a good position to have a big game. And then I like both defenses, but I actually give the edge a little bit to Olave can stay on this one with Dallas. So
Yeah, I think
I have
Dallas
Crispy
might
Taco
get
winning
30
this
points
matchup. I have Crispy Taco winning this matchup, but I do think it's going to be a lot tighter than the current early projections.
Yep. I have Chris as well in Dallas, I think, against that Houston team.
Yeah. I mean, they're 17-point favorites right now on the line. 17 points.
Unheard of in
It's insane.
next matchup. Just get one.
Oh, cough bud.
The cough is still
Hey,
not going? Buddy.
It's back.
Landon's
It
team
sounds
versus
better, though.
Bryden. The 3 versus the 5 here. Jeff, for Bryden, who would you like? You already switch out. I don't know anymore. Who would you play? I don't know. Kyron Williams, James Cook, or DPJ?
Yeah, I actually got to probably lean James Cook here in this one. I can't really trust the Los Angeles Rams. I mean, I know that game's currently going on right now. I don't think he's really doing much. And then we saw how bad Watson looked last week against Houston. In my opinion, a beatable defense. But I just don't trust Watson just yet with DPJ. So give me James Cook, who seems to be on the rise.
Okay. Moreau for Landon's team. Dante Foreman's coming off an injury. Deontay Johnson is healthy but hasn't hit 10 points since week 3. Which one would you play?
I'd stick with what Land's got. I go Foreman. Anybody who's not performing for 10 weeks straight, I think you throw him down. Take a chance on someone who's coming back from an injury.
Yeah.
All right. Who wins this matchup? Landon, how are you feeling?
Bryden?
Not
maybe?
really good. And Derek Carr with a solid 3.84 points right now.
I mean, that'll get you there.
we can talk about real quick how Bryden really
C-block!
screwed me.
Put on the C-block.
He C-blocked me. I wanted Kirk Cousins
Hard.
this week, but I don't have any money left, and Bryden put $1 in on Kirk Cousins and got him. So then my only other, I thought maybe a smart option was going with Derek Carr because he's got Devontae Adams, and that's backfiring. But I also saw Jared Goff out there on waivers, and I was really torn today because Derek Carr is going tonight, obviously, and I have no money. And do I take the risk and try and get Jared Goff and lose out on him and then have to go another way? Obviously, I went with Derek Carr, and it's falling apart. So Bryden wins this week.
Dude, that C block was harder than a Saturday night at 4 a.m. at sports. I'm telling you, trying to take a 5 move home or something like that.
Yeah,
That was a hard one.
yeah.
Who does Landon lose this one?
I think Bryden comes
I
away
think
with it.
Brian's got him. I think Brian's got him.
Agreed. Landon's losing.
Aren't we rooting for Bryden, by the way? Like he kind of came in and saved us after Schaefer fucked us pretty hard. I feel like I'd like to see Bryden do well this year.
Yeah,
At my expense?
He's been respectable this year. I think we'll invite him back for another year.
Yeah.
Next matchup, Geoff's touchdown my pants versus BJB. Another good matchup. Jeff Watson was very rusty last week. How do you think he'll perform this week?
Yeah, I think he's going to be shitty again, man. I'm not too
Weren't you the
hopeful
one
on
who
this.
dropped off though, or am I mistaken?
I did not. No, you're mistaken again. So yeah, I'm not convinced it's going to get any better. And like he's going up against Cincy, and Cincy's D has been pretty solid, especially as of late. So I don't expect this to be any better.
Okay. Do you think he gets better by the end of the year, or are we maybe next year?
I do. They have a pretty sexy matchups like down the stretch here, if I'm not mistaken. So I do think we're going to see some blow up games from them in the next, I guess, weeks. What would be 2 and 3 from now, if I'm not mistaken. I'm thinking about his matchups.
Landon, for BJV, Derrick Henry has had 3 underwhelming performances in the last 4. Are we seeing the decline of the king?
It is very possible. He has averaged fewer than 3.2 yards per carry in 4 straight games. Over the last 3 seasons, he has just a total of 5 games with that 3.2 yards per carry or less. So everyone's, every year it's like, is this the end of it for Derrick Henry? I mean, he's getting up there in age as far as an NFL running back goes. He has tons and tons of carries under his belt. So hopefully not, but it may be coming quicker than we think.
Yeah, I just pulled up Deshaun Watson here. He's got Cincy this week, Baltimore next, New Orleans, and then Washington. I mean, those aren't great matchups, really, when you think about it.
No.
Geoff's going for Jared Goff is my guess.
Yeah. Moreau, if you don't make the playoffs, who would you want to win it all? Would it be BJV or anybody else?
No, BJV.
Why'd you lead with BJV?
Because we're looking at his matchup. And
BJV is he hasn't won it all yet, right? Landon? Is he? Yeah.
No, him and Fender have not.
Goose eggs.
Yeah. I would love to see probably a toss up. Yeah, I want to see Vranek finally take the league down once, just so we can add him to that club. But between him and Bryden, I'm kind of rooting for Bryden, secretly too. I think appreciate him coming in last minute and joining the league. So either one of those two is fine.
If I was Bryden and I won, and there's Fender and BJV who have been in the league for a decade and haven't won it all, oh man.
That's kind of funny, right? So maybe those
Pino
two
did.
in the finals.
Yeah, Pino came in first season,
Pino did his.
cleaned up, took it
Yeah.
down. Freaking Stephon Diggs.
Who wins this one? Did you guys hear the
Yeah,
question?
I'm going with Geoff. Geoff.
Yeah, I'll say me, but I'm probably going to lose. So I'll say me.
Right?
I'm putting my best foot forward this week.
I'm going to go BJV. Things don't seem to be going the right way for Geoff.
No, they really don't. They really don't.
I like that.
My team can't score points.
I know.
I don't know what to do. It's just a bunch of guys I just put out there. They can't score.
It's crazy. You know so much about all the players, and yet
Oh, I gotta have that.
And yet here we are.
I need all of them.
It sounds like an injury.
I mean, I lost two of my top. I spent $100 on two players that are no longer on my team.
you should have known
Like
better.
on my fab budget.
Yeah.
Can't predict injuries, but you can certainly not draft guys that are injury prone. That's for sure.
That's true.
All right, we have me versus Bino here. Low score wins versus empty points. Winner gets to pretend like there's a chance. Moreau for my team. If Mike Williams plays, should I start him?
No.
I don't know.
He's gonna
Yes.
agree.
Yeah.
No.
Yes. Start him. You got 1, 2, 3. Yeah.
And-
Why not? Definitely start him.
Because he's going to get injured again.
Yep.
Yeah.
First play.
That's why I traded him.
Play him while you can.
You just got to cut this guy. Don't even give yourself that option.
All 1,000 other plays. Landon, for Bino, is there any stopping Mr. Hertz?
No, there's not. That guy can do it all. It's a fantasy cheat code.
He's ridiculous. Jeff, is there any hope for my team this week? I ran out of questions. That's what this is.
Yeah, I mean, I think if one of my plays of the week, Tyreek Hill has a monster game,
There
you
you
maybe
go.
have a chance. But that's
my only shot.
all it's going to take. I mean, I don't see much else.
Who wins this
Hunter
game?
Henry has a touchdown this week. Count it.
I like it.
Yeah, I wanted him.
Who wins this game?
Sorry, Grossman, not you.
Yeah, I'll take Bino.
I agree. All right, last matchup. Not so big tasty versus Dan's Up Stars. Morose, wait. What did I think I just ran out of questions here too. Moro, assuming you missed the playoffs, does avoiding last place motivate you at all, or do you just not care?
No, absolutely. Yeah, I think there should be like a significant penalty for last place. You know, like,
What
I
would
think
a good
that's
last place penalty be?
what's that?
Talked
What
about
would a
that
good
before.
last place penalty be?
I think this was actually a question last year when I was a guest in here. I can't remember exactly what we came up with a few good ones, like
You can do the IHOP challenge, which is fantastic.
that, or like you have to become an Uber driver, you know, for a month, you know,
You're the worst.
and do 5 hours a week.
You
know,
you turn right here.
Yeah, no, I think, or you have to do a lemonade stand in your neighborhood, videotaped for 4 hours on a Saturday, or something horribly
your
inconvenient. You know?
I think when we do we've been doing the draft live, right? Recently. I mean, and for the most part, we get all of our guys there. I think the loser should have to host the party, like food,
100%.
drinks.
Yeah,
Like they have to buy the party.
I completely agree with that. And yes, Grossman, if you guys haven't noticed, I actually picked up I think 3 or 4 players I've never heard of, but they're on my team now. And I'm highest projected for the week because I do care that much about not getting last place. I do.
Oh, boy.
Lannon, would
Nice.
you ever, as commish, would you ever put in a penalty for last place?
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think we
100%.
should absolutely
Absolutely.
do that.
Do it.
Right?
Yeah,
I like
we'll
to
come
see
up
it.
with
All
one
right,
before
who
next season.
wins this one, guys? Does our guest win?
Yeah, for
I think he
sure.
does. I think he does.
Yes.
Such a
Yes.
team. So good. Such a good manager. All right. Well, that does it for this week. Moreau, any last things to say while you're on, since we won't have you for as a playoff guest?
No, you might. I don't. I don't see one game at a time. No, thanks for having me on, guys. It's been an interesting year doing 2 leagues for the first time when I can barely handle one. So I'm glad Dynasty's going well.
Now that you have the link to the podcast, just Thursdays at 9, just pop on in.
You want me to just pop in?
Hey,
I'll pop in.
Do the podcast popping.
Well, we appreciate you joining, and everyone else, subscribe, like. I remember this time, see?
Not so big, not so tasty.
Yeah.